All right, how's everyone doing today? I know we're midday, mid-break. We just had something to eat. I can't hear you, though. How's everyone doing today? All right, that's like to hear. Who in the audience is a UCLA student? Raise your hand. All right, cool. Thank you all for coming. Who here is a UCLA alumni? Raise your hand. All right, myself as well. And who here is a general friend of UCLA in the community as well? Raise your hand. All right, good. All right, so we have a good, diverse crew in the audience, and we have a good, awesome speaker crew as well. So I'm going to start off and have each of the speakers introduce themselves with their name, what they do, and like a sentence. We'll get into what they do in more detail later. And then let's also add something fun that they did this week so far. We're at a Friday, and or something you have planned for the weekend. So let's go ahead and start with you. So name, company/title, and something fun. Yep, I didn't tell the speakers about that question. That's a spontaneous one just for you guys. All right.
Damn you, Kevin. All right. And I just had to sit here, right? Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm trying to figure out how to sit on this chair. My name is Zsuzsa James, and I'm a senior trade commissioner for interactive media with the Consulate General of Finland based here in Los Angeles. My work pretty much entails working with the Finnish entertainment industry, mainly with gaming. I come from the games industry myself, so I support Finland and Finland's effort to come to the US and helping them connect with the US market. And some fun things that, that's the beautiful thing about Fridays, that you just kind of put the week behind you, and like it's like it never happened.
All right, there's something fun that's coming up this weekend.
But hang on, that's something
Coachella
fun that's
plans,
coming up.
Whatever you got.
All right, I've got some very ambitious plans of beating the second boss of Returnal this weekend. So,
nice. All right, very good.
That's
good
a challenge I set for
That's
myself.
awesome. Very cool.
Hi, I'm Alissa Smith. I am a senior game designer at Survios. A little bit about what I do is, so I design like the systems and the mechanics that actually go into the game. So that boss fight that you're talking about, I would be one of the people who, this is how you actually fight the boss. This is what the boss can do. So that's the sort of thing that I do in my day-to-day. And something fun, tomorrow I'm going to the Ren Fair. It's Pirate Weekend. I'm super excited. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. Rickey.
Awesome. First of all, who's excited about the biggest transfer of wealth in human history? Who's excited about that? Right?
The death of the boomer?
No, I want to see who's excited about that. My name is Rickey Pinkney. I am the CEO of Final Frontier, pro gaming organization. We exist in both the Web 2 and Web 3 space with the goal of uniting people and creating change through gaming. The fun thing I'll be doing this weekend is asking her if she can make me an in-boss in a game.
That's not a weekend task, sorry.
To be fair, yeah.
Thank you. And Anne.
Hello, I'm Anne Toole. I am a writer of scripted entertainment. In the game field, I've written for Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima. I was a lead writer on the last DLC for Assassin's Creed Origins. And I've also written for animation, comics. I've written a Halo comic. And I'm also writing the Horizon Zero Dawn comics. Oh, and this weekend, I'm looking forward to going to the Deadline Contenders at the GDA.
I will see you there.
Hello.
And I'm Kevin Winston, founder of Digital LA. We organize entertainment and tech conferences and panels all around the LA area and beyond. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first question. The first question is, what are some trends that you're seeing in gaming in your space? We have some folks who are on the content creation, like making the game side, and some folks who are more on the business side and working with partners and gamers, which is a great segue to how we can look at this panel or look at the game space, because we have so many industries represented and so many points of views represented. So what do you see? Let's go the other way so you have more time to think this time. Anne, what are some of the trends, like maybe top one or two trends that you're seeing in your space?
Well, of course, the biggest beginning of the trend is the advent of ChatGPT and AI. We've already seen some game companies using the AI to create their visual content. Ubisoft announced at GDC that they were incorporating an AI into their script program. So the idea is that you would put in a bark, which is just the random lines that an NPC might say, well, you walk by, and the AI would generate like 10 other barks. But you still need the writer to go through and say, yes, those barks work, or no, this is completely not in character or in voice. So this is just at the beginning, and I definitely anticipate in the future it's going to be big, and it could put us all out of a job, or it could be the greatest tool in the world. We don't know. And the other trend is a little different than Hollywood. Hollywood is very big on everything has to be a pre-existing IP. But in video games, like I think 9 out of the 10 top bestsellers are original IP for video games. And that does mean, you know, it's sequels like Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, Final Fantasy 3000, you know. But it's definitely an emphasis on original IP. And then, of course, what they were talking about earlier, franchise building, and the idea that it would be transmedia again. I'm working on the Horizon Zero Dawn comics. So those are the 2 big trends I'm seeing right now.
As a writer, how do you feel about having ChatGPT being used to write the NPC content? Because that's probably not that much fun to write. The player talks to his NPCs, have to say some blah, blah, blah.
Well, I actually do enjoy writing that. But I think the important thing is at this juncture, you still need the expert to go through, and this is true for anything in ChatGPT. If you want it to program something for you, you still have to know that it's giving you something that's accurate. But that obviously it's going to change. It's going to be increasingly accurate as things go forward, and of course we have to figure out the business model so it's not stealing things from content creators, which I think it kind of is right now. So it's just really early, and like I said, it could be everything's going to be AI generated, and I need to get a new job, or we just don't know. Or I could be in a great position because I'm that expert who can look at that stuff and say, yeah, that's not going to work.
Awesome. Thank you. Rickey, what's new?
One of the newest trends is for the gamer having the opportunity to earn without being a professional level gamer. So if you look at the history of playing to earn, right? That play to earn has typically been the professional level gamer from a pro guild, but now you're seeing a trend of people being able to earn just by being an average player. Another thing is the gaming operation of Gen Z and Gen A, right? Someone in this room, raise your hand if your child is playing the games off of your pockets big time. Roblox, you have, we're all in the audience. I'm guilty of it too, right? So if you look at that industry, it's a couple $100 billion that are generated from the players who aren't even old enough to have a driver's license. And so that is a big wave right now in terms of what a big trend we see in gaming.
Totally. I have 2 nephews who are super into Roblox. I asked them what they wanted for Christmas. They just said Robux. And I was like, it's a lot easier for me to buy than going into the store, Toys R Us. So got them some Robux, and they loved it.
Yeah, for me, I actually work at a company that's doing a lot of VR games. So I think that VR is one of the sort of emerging trends. It's been around for a while. But with the recent PSVR 2 that came out, it's coming to more homes. It's becoming more accessible. You no longer need like a $3,000 PC to play a VR game. So it's really cool to be designing for this because it really is a new frontier of games and figuring out what all there is to do, what all there can be done, especially with the fact that like I said, it's an untapped frontier, and when you put it on that headset, you get a different set of emotions for the player than what you're going to be getting with a flat screen. Grabbing something in VR has a different feel to it than holding a controller and pressing a joystick against something. So trying to figure out where these emotional connections with the player can be made and making these events more interesting for each person is a really cool, like, bleeding edge sort of technology that's coming out from VR, and from it being becoming so common for the average person to pick up, the average gamer to pick up, and becoming so accessible for the common person.
The expectations, we saw the whole Web3 space sort of go boom and a little bit bust now, and then we'll see how it goes. But so now we've leveled back out. So what I'm seeing is that when it comes to at least raising funding or just raising financing is back to, I would say, back to normal levels, in that it's more difficult. There is a little bit more lead time, a little bit more due diligence. Teams have to be a little bit further along with a product or some KPIs before they can get funded. So there's a lot of that. And I don't want to take any more time, but that's perhaps one of the biggest thing is that uncertainty, fast changes that are going on in the market. Things are getting a lot more expensive. Also in the mobile space, user acquisition is a lot more expensive. So we're also seeing some shifts from something that was, and it still is, the mobile space is very, very huge, but it's becoming more expensive to play in that. So a lot of saturation. And again, going back to AI, now with the democratization of tools that we are seeing both with UGC, so user-generated content, these obviously Unreal and Unity making it a lot easier for people to play games, or make games rather, Fortnite releasing the creator tool, Roblox, all that. And now add Gen AI to the mix, we're going to see a massive saturation in the market going forward. So how to stand out is going to be one of the big questions going forward.
I agree. I mean, if you think about, you just made a lot of great points. When you look at the time that people were home, most people don't have the time to play video games. So that effect of it is now they have the chance to have that euphoric experience being home playing video games. They now get to experience the different genres of the video games. Their kids were home playing the video games. And so next thing you know, the investment, which could be done from home because now you can get the digital versions of the game, then that translated into here comes Web3 games. And now people were able to earn from home. Yes, the bear market did come in, but everyone knows that, Bitcoin is moving on its cycle. With that, now with Web3 gaming coming along with that is, okay, it has now provided an opportunity for just the average or even low income to be able to have a supplemental income on the side from a euphoric experience.
So how does that work? Give an example of Web3 gaming providing supplemental income to somebody. How does it work? If I'm a gamer who is from the inner city, I'm really good at Fortnite or whatever, how do I make more money off of that in the Web3 space?
So if you hop in certain tournaments that say, hey, we want to have a $1,000 pot in stablecoin for the 2 winners of this game, this match, this tournament. So you're good. You hop in, you win. You just made yourself an extra $1,000 of stablecoin. You have certain video games that say, hey, well, if you can, for instance, Axie Infinity was a big one of the big marketers for Web3 gaming. You were able to purchase these Axies, some when it first came out at $5. By the time the bull run was underway, some of these Axies were going for thousands of dollars each. So you literally watch people take a $25 investment, play the game that they loved, and some of them made tens to hundreds of thousands.
That's a good segue into monetization of games, which is our next question. What are some new models or models that are working really well from monetization of the games? So you talked about some of the Web3 things that are happening. You also mentioned the Roblox, basically the free-to-play games where you play the game for free, and then if you want to do these additional things or get the skins or the avatars or the power-ups or the weapons, you can pay $5, $10, small amounts to be able to get more things in the game. That's another monetization model. What are some other monetization models that are working really well or new?
I can talk about ones that haven't been working well.
Sure.
The microtransactions, especially with EA, these sort of gambling mechanics. This was a couple years ago, how everyone was death to EA because they were doing all these. Someone can probably explain it better than I can, but basically, you'd pay and you'd get this chance to get some fat loot, and it's basically was the loot box, right? It was basically a hidden gambling mechanic, and so they had to get rid of that, and it really soured gamers in general against EA specifically. And there's some pretty funny memes about it actually, but this idea that you'd buy the game for $20, $40 and you would still have to pay $1 jillion to continue to play it because of all the microtransactions and sort of the pay to win model as opposed to pay to earn, that you actually had to pay to be good at the game. And so I think we've learned from that and we're moving on from that model, hopefully.
Yeah, I remember that, of course. I think a big one would definitely be if you look at interoperability. And that's what gamers are wanting, right? If you've been able to play this game, but you can take your character and put it in this game, and games are recognizing that because again, the community is what a lot of the organizations do have to pay attention to. So now you're seeing developers work on being able to say, hey, well, we're going to work with this other game, and we're going to make our IP interoperable with this game's. So if you're playing both games, you can take your asset in this one, but also play it in this one, and giving you the opportunity to earn in both. And so I think interoperability is going to be a big, big thing when it comes to monetization. We're also right now going through the biggest deal in gaming history. If you've known about Blizzard acquiring Activision and now Microsoft trying to acquire, is that a package? That's a $64 billion deal, right? That's the biggest gaming acquisition in gaming history to my knowledge. And so it's so big, countries are involved in that, right? Literally.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen work really well is actually the season system. So Fortnite uses it. Another game that recently became really popular that's a mobile game, Marvel Snap, uses it. So when you're playing through the game, you can earn trickle rewards basically as you progress in the game. And you get small amounts of kind of like, here's one prize, but if you look and if you pay for the season, which is like the next 30 days, and it's maybe $10 to $20, then you can get all these other prizes that are locked until you get that final reward. So it incentivizes you to play more, but it also incentivizes you to pay more by also giving you little bits so you still feel rewarded to play if you're paying. So you get to the end of that season and you're like, oh, look at all these like 50 something rewards that I'm missing out on because I earned them all. If I pay the $10 to unlock it, then I just instantly get all of them. So that's one of the systems that I've seen in multiple games that seems to work really well for monetization. It especially works in free-to-play models. You don't feel like it's pay to win because most of the things that you're earning are skins or aesthetic things that are not actually earning you advantages in the game. They just up your cool factor, which is, among gamers, if you know any gamers, that's really important. It's almost as important as your stats. So having this model does incentivize people to be like, oh my gosh, I've earned so much, and if I don't pay this, then I just lose it tomorrow. So I think that that's one model that's shown a lot of success.
Yeah, that's a pretty good example, actually. I'm not going to give, or I can think of a good example that's new, because I'm going to say that this is one thing that.
What do the Finnish companies do?
Yeah, well, that's
Are
the
they
thing.
mobile games that are free to play?
Yes, exactly.
$5 to play. How does it work?
Yeah, so 5,000 to play. No, yes. So I was going to say that, and thank you for bringing that up. That what I've seen work, and because that's a blanket question, is that you have to match the monetization. You have to match all of it, but it completely depends on the game and the audience that you're targeting. Some audiences and some type of games and the platform are going to be up in arms and leave you in the dust if you dare to introduce any kind of monetization that they deem as predatory, which has been seen like with the loot boxes, even with free to play or the worst play to win, which is definitely not something that we do, but we have seen companies do that, and audiences are very discerning of that, and they will they will not continue playing. But yeah, so there's a lot of different kinds. So there's free to play, which has traditionally been now for a long time working really, really well for Finnish companies as well as many other mobile companies in particular, and that really works well for that audience that wants to have that kind of I play for 5 minutes a day, and I'm going to play for years and years, and I'm every so often I'll tune in. Then we have the traditional box set model or now digital distribution, where you buy the game for whatever, like 50, 60, or indie games for a little cheaper, and then you may pay for DLCs, or if they mess up, then they'll give you the free DLC later to make you forget about that. And then of course now and then there's also subscription that is also coming in. or has been kind of around for a while with the Game Pass, and PlayStation has their own version and so on. So, but again, the key thing is to me is finding what works for the platform, for the type of game, for the type of experience, and your audience. Something that works really well in a Candy Crush or in a Heyday or in an Angry Birds is not going to work well in, and I'm just going to list all the Finnish examples, but in an Alan Wake or Returnal or whatever, it's a different type of games. But one thing I do also want to add here, and this kind of goes back to, again, I can't stop talking about the effect of generative content and content creation also on the business models. I'm not going to prognosticate to say that, hey, this is what's going to happen exactly, or this is how that's going to disrupt business models, but it is going to disrupt business models. I don't know yet how. I don't think anybody really does. I think this is just my personal opinion, that I think that the value of creativity and content creation is going to go down, and I don't know what effect that's going to have long term, but we're going to have to prepare for it and brace for it and figure out a way around it.
Cool. We've been talking about monetization within the gaming industry. Games have been making a lot of money beyond the game industry through ancillary things such as merchandising and content and IP in big movies and TV shows. We actually are in, I think, what will be known as probably a golden area for games to film and TV, with things such as Last of Us. Who saw Last of Us on HBO? Game company over in Santa Monica, Naughty Dog's game, Last of Us, been out for 10 years, made into a super popular HBO Max series. And then we also, on the weekend after Mario Brothers came out and made records. Who saw Super Mario Brothers movie? All right, check it out, guys. It's super fun. I've seen it 5 times. It's a lot of fun. Check that out. And so basically, that made like records. That got like $200 million US domestic because of me. That was my tickets. No, they were free screenings. But yeah. So, how do you make sure that the content of the game is preserved so that we have good game to other platforms and properties, instead of some of the ones that didn't work out so well in the past, say with the first Super Mario Brothers live action movie in 1993, or with Mortal Kombat, which has had so success. Now we're in this like renaissance with Sonic doing well last fall, Last of Us, and now Mario Brothers. So I know that they're all the big movie studios, like after last weekend when Mario Brothers did so well, are like, all right, we need to go mine some games. How can we make sure that they do that well, so we have good animation and properties based on games, instead of ones that just like ripped off the IP and aren't respectful for the games and the gamers? Because nowadays, if it doesn't go well and you didn't do it right, you didn't do your research, it's not faithful to the game, you will hear it loud and clear as soon as your first image is released, perhaps, like with Busted Sonic. So Anne, so Anne has done games to comics. So what are some of the things that you should basically really make sure that are intact to have it faithful beyond the platform of games itself to other platforms?
So definitely have the canon IP holder involved in every medium. So for the Horizon Zero Dawn comics, it's the narrative director of the game, which I have also worked on, making sure that it's all kosher and like looks over everything. So something to avoid that hasn't worked in the past is this siloing between the film and the games. I've worked on another game that didn't come out, so I won't mention the IP, but it was definitely it was a TV show. So it was a TV show, and they could not have cared less about what the game was doing. And so for their finale episode, they completely nerfed one of our playable races, and they didn't even discuss it with us. It was just like, well, you're just a license, we don't care. So there's this tendency, and I've heard this with a major entertainment company whose name I won't mention, that it's very, very siloed, the gaming division, the TV division, the whatever division, and that sounds like that's a recipe for disaster. And it's got to be somebody who's in charge of the IP and the creator or whoever it is, who really cares and respects and understands all of the different media. So for example, Last of Us, Neil Druckmann was the creative director and co-inceptor, we should say, of the game, and so he was the co-writer, showrunner, whatever, of the series. So he was not going to make it bad, right? He wasn't going to nerf it in any way. I think the one I'm most intrigued about was the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was incredibly solid. And I know Wizards of the Coast is very good about watching its IP in every medium. But if you watch the movie, it's actually not a perfect adaptation of the game mechanics. There's a lot of stuff. I was like, why is the bard not casting spells? Why is the druid not casting spells?
Right.
Like, what's going on? And I knew why, because I was like, it's going to confuse the audience if they don't know D&D. But there were a lot of interesting choices in there. And I was like, okay, I can respect where you're going with that. And so there was this notion that they were willing to sacrifice something of their IP to make it palatable to everyone. And I am a D&D gamer, and I didn't feel disrespected. But maybe it's because I know Wizards probably had their fingers all over that, so they weren't going to make it terrible. So I think that's what it comes down to, is like just really getting the medium, getting the audience, and respecting each medium as though it were the anchor medium. Because ideally, if it's a true transmedia property, every aspect does hold canon. And we've seen that with like Star Wars and a little bit with Marvel's had some missteps with that, but like their cinematic universe tries very hard. Everything you see on screen is canon. So that's the idea. It's just like everything is important. There's no audience that's better than any other. There's no medium that's better than any other. And the problem with stuff that tends to start in like film and TV is they think film and TV is better, and everything else is just like, oh, we're just going to expand the franchise into this, and we don't actually care about the audience. That's the problem.
And same for the Mario movie. The creator of Mario actually was a co-producer / director on the movie that they did in partnership with Illumination Entertainment. So cool. Let's go to the audience for questions. Who has questions? You have questions? Yeah. In the white palm t-shirt.
Hi, everyone. One of the interesting things that you mentioned is streaming. And I'm actually from the gaming industry myself, work with some of the titles mentioned. But with the very big acquisition happening right now with Microsoft, Game Pass, and Sony now, what do you think how will monetization change from today selling like the $100 title versus battle passes and all that to streaming? Are we gonna move more to streaming, and will that change the monetization policy, or you think the two will live in parallel?
Right, streaming. Who wants to take that?
I can take that. So if you look at the streaming model, you're starting to see it, whether it's Kick, YouTube, Twitch, and there are various contracts to allow people to stream for monetization. I think that's where we're at right now, right? It's the streamer, and then the streamer who is being able to be monetized through YouTube, which would be Google, and then the other sources of Twitch. When it comes to what they're able to get from the acquisition deals, we don't know what that looks like yet. We have to wait and see what the regulatory clarity is on that may support the streamer or stomp on the streamer. And so I don't think we really see what that looks like yet until maybe after this is all done, right? We're in that period of uncertainty right now. But right now, the advantage that the streamer does have is the opportunity for monetizing themselves in a game that may not have the option to monetize within unless you're a high tier professional player, such as within World of Warcraft, right? Your money's made by being able to get into those big arena tournaments, but at the same time you have people that stream their content and have millions of views, and they're not even playing the game. Osmongold is one of them, right? He'll just make a video about someone else playing, and it'll get 2 million views, right? And monetize for it.
Cool. Next question. All right, you guys think? I have another question. Oh, wait, you have a question over there? Can you stand up or give them the mic? All right, while you're doing that, I'll ask another question. Another trend that's happening in this game is making sure that the games are inclusive and diverse, both as far as the people who are creating the games at the game studios, the game developers, the game CEOs, at the game companies and publishers, the partners, the streamers and the Twitch streamers, and even the characters in the games themselves. Do you see any of that in the work that you're working on, or what are you doing to help increase that? And what can everyone do to help increase diversity, inclusivity, and representation in games?
Yeah, I think that talking about it, first off, is the first step in actually making it happen. Companies are starting to hire more, starting to have DE&I initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within their companies. They look at games, they look at the games that are being made, trying to make sure that not only the games are good for having representation being shown in it. The most recent Harry Potter game is actually a pretty good example of having characters in the game that are not only color diverse, but also having different abilities and different being just like, there's a lot of, I don't know if you've played it, but there's a lot of different people in the game that are represented. Like there's a trans character in the game. So having, and another character is blind. So I think it's really important that these things actually start happening in games, having boards of people that their job and like creating these jobs of people to look at the games, to look at what's being done, to look at what can be done. Within an IP, these things can also be added to IPs. So making sure that these things are not overlooked, they are important, and talking about it, really listening when people say that it's important to be represented in the game, and to show these people, show people, yeah.
Which is another form of monetization. If you increase the people who are represented and feel represented in a game, that results in more game sales.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing to add is obviously hire diversely and don't just give lip service to it. And one of the trends is, we're going to hire a sensitivity reader, but you're not willing to actually hire that person full time to actually just do the job. They'll be like, we'll just hire someone, at a fraction of the pay. I don't know how much a sensitivity reader would cost, but it's nowhere near like being a full-time employee, right? And related to that is, they'll be like, we're going to have this female main character or whatever, but then you look at the founders of the company and it's still like all white men, So making sure that the investors, the venture capitalists are investing in diverse founders, because it has to start from the beginning, from the top. Because otherwise what you're doing is you're just hiring somebody to like legitimize you, but you're not actually giving them power to affect change and the opportunity to say like, no, this is the right way to do it, because at some point you're going to do what your boss tells you because you want to keep your job. So
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just very quick on all of that, because those are all fantastic points, and I just wanted to add that from some of Finland's core strengths and core values are around equality and personal freedom. And I think that whenever I think about this topic, I'm a very big believer in that, that the best thing we can do as companies, and now just talking about to you guys here in the workforce who are about to enter or who are looking to work in, is to create organizations like UCLA, but also on a governmental level. The best thing we can do is to create an environment and an infrastructure that promotes equality and personal freedom, and then let people basically remove the barriers to entry and give people the opportunity across the board to do what they want to do. And secondly, is to demystify to a large extent game development and to talk about the vast amount of roles that exist in this industry that are outside of programming. Programming is obviously very important, but we're sitting here in the business school, so and it is a business at the end of the day. So already there is a lot there, and even beyond that, there's hundreds of different types of roles. So.
Cool. All right, we have 1:30 left. Let's do can we do a speed round? Short questions, short answers. All right, question in the back. Who has the mic?
Yes. Thanks for doing this. My question was actually, and you guys brought it up already, was the way that AI is going to be changing the game development cycle.
All right, so AI developing, we talked about. It is changing it. We're not sure how. Watch for it. Okay, question there. Talk after. We kind of already got that one. Next one. We're in speed round. 1 minute left. The clock is running.
Relationship of gaming's future to short form content as opposed to long form content.
What are you talking about? Web series? Short video?
Shorter form content.
All right, 50 seconds.
I think it's a very exciting space. I think there's some people working on that, and you're gonna see it coming out. And I think it's a white space.
40 seconds left. Who has another question? Speed round. We're like gamers. We're quick speed. Okay, I think we got them all. Anyone else? All right. What games are you playing right now? Quick, 30 seconds.
I already said Returnal.
Okay.
Resident Evil 4.
Champions Ascension and Star Atlas.
Pathfinder on Foundry.
And Pokemon Go. I'm going to jump into a red gym here. If anyone's on the red team, come join me. All right, thank you guys so much. Give a round of applause for our speakers.